The review you are about to see is an account of the tragedy which befell one internet reviewer, Bob Show. It is all the more tragic in that he was young-ish. He could not have expected, nor would he have wished to see as much of the lame and annoying as he was to see that day. For him, an idyllic afternoon of reading comic books became a nightmare. The events of that day were to lead to the discovery of one of the most uninspired crimes in the annals of comic history. The Texas Chainsaw Samurai. Hey guys, as that opening narration told you, yes, there is in fact a comic called The Texas Chainsaw Samurai. Because a movie about a cannibalistic hillbilly who likes to wear and eat the flesh of his victims would really benefit from having a frickin' samurai tossed into the mix. But then what can you expect from the guy who brought us such classic comics like Sultry Teenage Super Foxes and G.I. Jackrabbits? So yeah, our cover features a samurai warrior wearing a leather face mask and wielding a chainsaw, and I can only assume that he's from Texas. Yeah, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? You gotta love the coloring on this cover too. It's like they were rushing to finish the coloring the night before it was supposed to be printed, and when they got to the blood, they just cut up a piece of red cellophane and tossed it onto the printer. The most terrifyingly funny comic ever made. Oh ho 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 ho! Who wants to bet that that's gonna turn out to be a lie? Our comic opens with the prologue, yeah, I'm sure that's gonna help make things more comprehensible, where we see the samurai from the cover hitchhiking through somewhere in Midwest America. Yeah, it turns out that this comic is actually taking place in Iowa, of all places. He reads through The Ways of the Samurai for Dummies while waiting for someone to give him a lift. Courage of the heart, purity of the soul, grace of the body. These virtues must the samurai possess. But none is greater than patience. Shit. 2 pages in and the main character is sick of where he is. That's encouraging. He gets passed up by a van full of kids, one of whom is deaf and can only understand you if you talk directly to him so he can read your lips. And they decided to make him the navigator on this little trip of theirs, and they stuck him in the back seat as far away from the driver as they can. I know that the victims in slasher movies are supposed to be stupid, but hey, at least they're being creatively stupid. A deaf navigator who can't communicate to the driver? That's a good one. They stop for some gas, but when one of them gets out and dings some biker's motorcycle, he and the rest of his biker buddies proceed to beat them up. Nice artwork here, by the way. I didn't know that clothes conformed to the human body in such a way that it looks like it's just painted on. But then the samurai shows up, walking at the speed of light apparently, and he quickly deals with the bikers. They offer to give the samurai a ride, and they all introduce themselves. How about you? I am Samurai. No kidding, I got a brother named Sam, only his last name is Antonelli, just like mine. Oh, please tell me that this one's the first to die. And then the van suddenly drives over that dead armadillo that we see in the beginning of the original movie. Thank you, comic. The origin of this dead armadillo was one of the great mysteries of Texas Chainsaw lore. They explain to the samurai, who they're calling Sam now, that they're going to their late uncle's ranch that he left to them, but they have a campout in the front yard since the house doesn't have any electricity. 2 of them decide to take a walk in the woods. And no, I didn't bother learning their names, since what would be the point in a story like this? You're going out there now? In the dark? Like, what's there to be afraid of? One should only fear what one does not understand. Well, gotta give this comic some points for being educational. I didn't know that samurai philosophy embraced xenophobia. While Sam is giving this little pearl of wisdom, they're all being watched by a rather professional-looking Leatherface, who turns into a bat? It doesn't take long for the couple to get lost in the woods, and when they come across another house, they figure they could ask whoever lives there to use their phone. Wait! Ralph's uncle's place doesn't have a phone! Who will we call? I don't know. Maybe the pizza man? Hey, look at that! We're halfway through this comic, and we finally get our first joke. This really is the most terrifyingly funny comic ever made! They open the door to the sound of a chainsaw buzzing, And to be honest, I do like how the sound balloon is covered in saw teeth. And we jump back to the rest of the group before we can see their grisly demise. Apparently, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was rated G all this time. They all decide to go off to look for their friends, but that deaf guy stays behind.
I see you are meditating. Very good. Like a warrior preparing for battle. Very good. You prepare for battle, while I go fight evil.
Hey Sam, what say we go look for Steve and Cindy? Oh goody, our second joke of the comic, and it's making fun of the physically handicapped. Thanks a lot, Solsome Publications. Nice repetition here, by the way. It would appear that this comic was one of Frank Miller's lesser-known works. The other two friends come across the house like the first two friends, when they're set upon by the business-suited Leatherface. Sam and the deaf guy, Ralph, who shouts his own name in surprise for some reason, follow the screams of their friends when they bump into Leatherface too. He and Sam duke it out, after giving them a perfectly coherent warning to leave, since Leatherface always talked in the movies, didn't he? And before we see the results of this little brawl, we jump back to the other kids who are simply tied up, and looking remarkably well despite being attacked by a guy with a chainsaw. And two other kids are with them too, presumably from the other slasher movie across the lake. By the way, remember that scene from the movie where that one girl finds the room that's full of human remains? We get something like that in this comic, where our heroes discover that Leatherface wants their t-shirts! Really? You don't want to kill these kids or eat their flesh or anything? You just want to kill their t-shirts? I'm sorry, I gotta take a break from this. I'm gonna call Solsome Publications and see if they can explain this to me. Alright, fine. Let's just get back to the review. Then this guy shows up and explains that the t-shirts these kids are wearing are somehow causing him and his brother a slow death. Before he can explain what the hell that's supposed to mean, one of the girls very easily escapes from her bonds and bonks him on the head. She makes a break for it, and eventually runs into a cop who I think was designed to kinda sorta look like Dennis Hopper from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, but then again, that kind of connection seems a little too clever for a comic like this. Meanwhile, back at the house, Baldy McChainsaw here is about to kill this poor kid's t-shirt, when who should saw his way through the front door but Sam, now wielding the mask and chainsaw of Leatherface.
Now all must reckon with the Texas Chainsaw Samurai!
All must reckon with the Texas Chainsaw Samurai? Does that mean that you're going to kill the kids too? Alright, if you insist. Yeah, nice job showing us how he defeated Leatherface off-panel, by the way. Ralph frees his friends while Sam and Baldy duke it out, and they knock over an oil lamp which makes the house catch fire. Great, they can't even do a proper Texas Chainsaw ripoff, now they have to turn it into an old Vincent Price movie. The cop shows up just as they all manage to get out before the house explodes, and Sam even manages to save the bald guy's life. Alright, Sam! Our hero! I thought I was gonna die. I wasn't scared. Is Chris Claremont writing the dialogue here? No, he's busy writing dialogue for much better comics. The bald guy unties his not-Leatherface brother. Yeah, Sam just tied him up after that brawl of theirs. And he explains that they were both tailors until they both went out of business, which they blame on t-shirt sales for some reason. Yeah. That's why they were trying to kill these kids' t-shirts. I never thought I'd read a comic that would make the motivations of the Cyber Kitties look downright plausible. 2 weeks later, the kids are still driving around with Sam, and they exposit how the tailors are locked in the nut house, and whatever dangers come their way, they can face them since they still have Sam by their side. Next, Samurai the 13th. No, next is throwing this comic in the trash. I just don't get it. What was even the point of this? If you're sick enough to take a movie like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and make a parody comic out of it, fine, whatever. But why just randomly make it about a samurai? What kind of sense does that make? Even ignoring the pointless title character, this comic doesn't even work as just a regular parody. It doesn't deconstruct horror movie tropes. It doesn't give us any jokes that could muster anything more than a smirk, if they're lucky. The characters are just empty suits. And come on! The villains of this comic are pissed off at the t-shirt industry? Really? This comic deserves to be barbecued alongside Leatherface's victims. But since I can't do that, I suppose that banishment will have to suffice.
Subscribe, like, follow, comment, share, watch more.